All right, what's up, you guys? We are back with Behind the Bikini, and we are on episode number 85 now. We are just rolling right along here into the new season. Things are starting to get heating up and all that kind of fun stuff. Today we are going to talk about a question that you all sent in, or topic that you all sent in, which was if we had any Eureka moments, basically, as we went through our journeys. And I know I've had a ton of them, so I just jotted down a few of those. But before we get into all of that, like, comment, subscribe, hit the buttons wherever they might be on your devices. Share this with all your friends. And comment, like we said before, like the more that you comment on these videos, things like that, the more that we can bring you what you want. So we put up those question boxes here and there and all that kind of fun stuff. But the more that you interact with us, the more we can give you what you want.
That's it. That's it.
And I'm sorry, my voice is already like cracking and stuff right now. So I am not sick. However, I was just saying that before we logged on here, going back and forth between Arizona and here, like I didn't have my humidifier on here in my apartment here. And that dry air, man, that dry air is brutal. It's brutal. Ugh,
hmm
killing me.
Yeah, if you're not used to it, it could definitely make you sound like you're sick, feel dry, skin
Yeah.
issues. So it's a
Uh,
it's a whole nother ball game out here.
It's freaking crazy. I'm like, and I did the whole thing with my scalp treatment and stuff, got my hair in a good place and all that kind of stuff. Like, you have to be careful with that too. It's just getting your body acclimated. And like, it was like when I was at your house in Arizona, I was like, I was started to feel it a little bit. And then when I got back here, I was like, oh, there it is. I'm like, my voice is barely even here anymore. You know what I mean? So whatever.
Yeah.
But but with that said, before we get into anything, I did want to take a quick moment and just give kind of a little bit of props and memorandum to CJ, who did pass away the other day. I wasn't super close with CJ. However, she's a big influence in our industry, especially me as a suit designer. Um, she was always very nice to me. As far as I know, she was nice to everyone she came in contact with, that kind of thing. And for me as a suit designer, she was actually very much a inspiration in what I did. So I took a lot of inspiration from what she did. She was a pioneer in our industry. So, and she was young. I mean, I don't know what the cause was as far as why she passed away and things like that, but she's definitely been going to be missed. And she was a big, even at shows now, like she was at shows every single weekend. She was always backstage at the Olympia, all those kinds of things. And um as far as I know, I've never heard a bad word spoken about her ever. So like that's pretty spectacular. I mean, she led a really great life. And I just can remember several times we just sat down at shows and just, I mean, she literally would just tell me everything that she did in order to design suits and stuff. So for me, being new and coming into the industry like that, I mean, that was a very impactful for me. So I just wanted to give a little bit of props to her and a little bit of remembrance. And the biggest thing with that is that because she poured herself into the sport so much, even though she's physically not present, her spirit will live on through all of us, through every one of us that she's actually touched, and just helped us to grow. So I don't know if you had any kind of experience with her or anything like that, but I just wanted to
Yeah,
give
I
her.
was I was actually fairly close to CJ. We've had a
Yeah.
lot of great conversation, and she was at my very first show backstage.
Yeah.
She was based out of Florida, so she was at all the Florida shows. And CJ was one of those people that was always backstage. And if you had an issue with your suit, she would always say, "I don't care if it's my suit, I don't care whose suit it is,
Right.
but we're not letting you get on stage in a suit that's busted." And she's fixed my suit once. She's fixed my athlete suits. Something really cool about CJ that I thought I would talk about, which I don't think a lot of people know, is that her dad was a major fashion designer, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
how she got into it. And then the warehouse that they create the suits in now is still the same warehouse that her dad was making like Met Gala,
Yep.
like gala attire. So, she was just incredible. Just like you said, she is definitely going to be so missed. I was absolutely shocked. I know she was having some health issues a couple of years ago, and then had to get like her breasts removed. And then there was some complications that were going on a few weeks ago where she was in the hospital, and then she
Yeah, I saw
got a
that.
wrong medication, and then it caused some heart failure. And then I think things started to kind of slowly decline after that. So I'm just heartbroken, but I know that her legacy is definitely going to live on. She's not one that you forget.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, going back to, I mean, she was doing it before anybody. She was the pioneer in the industry. So, if you're involved in bodybuilding at all for any period of time, you've run into her or something that she's created or designed or whatever. I mean, she's been a big part of the whole thing for what, 40 years now at this point, something like that. So, she was a female bodybuilder herself. She was a competitor herself. So, yeah, it's pretty shocking, honestly. But I did see her post about, the health issues, things like that. I think it was back in December. So I'm assuming that's kind of probably where that all came from and everything. So
Yeah.
CJ, your friends and family, you're gonna be missed. Yes. Well,
Yeah,
all
totally.
love,
I
all
love
love.
you.
Yeah. So we gonna move on from that, but I wanted to at least give her a little bit of a
No,
shout
that
out
was
there.
great.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
For sure. Women supporting women. That's
that's
small,
right.
and boss babes too. And CJ was a boss
Hundred
babe.
percent.
So the boss
Hundred
babe.
percent. Hundred
Yes.
percent. Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of, I'm wearing your shirt. You can't see it, but I'm wearing your shirt.
I love it. I love it. I love seeing the JV shirts. They're like in the wild. Like girls that like bought them at AZ Fit Lab. They're all wearing them out there. I'm just like, oh my God, it's so
I
cool.
love it. It's so cool. It's like it's just fun. Again, women supporting women. We gotta look out for each other, right?
Totally, totally. I showed up to AZ today, and Kristen, my bodywork specialist, I've been meaning to give her a shirt for weeks. It's been sitting on my counter, and finally she was training a client. And I handed it to her. She's like, "Oh my God, I got my shirt!" It was so
I think
cool.
I'm serious. Got a shirt. Yeah, I
There's still
mean,
some of them up on the website if you guys want some. There's some mediums left, and larges are on sale. So, and the larges, like they fit
this is
nice.
a
I
large.
like a
This
bigger
is a
size.
large.
Yeah, I like a
Yeah,
bigger size.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah,
I think if you want to make it smaller, you can just tie it in the back or whatever. Make it more of a crop
cut
top,
it.
that kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But I like
awesome.
it. So
I love it.
I'm sporting the champion mindset. We got it. We got it.
Yeah, hell yeah. How's your training been after your assessment? How's everything been since you've been home?
Actually, I haven't done a whole lot. I've only trained glutes one time since I've been back.
Okay.
But I'm going to check out a new gym tomorrow. So I texted Drew this morning. I was like, just so you know, there's hack squats at the gym. I was like, so whenever he hasn't sent me, I actually texted him and said, listen, I'm not going to get to be able to go to gym to probably some Monday or Tuesday. So I know he had like 4 assessments or something like that last week. So I said, listen, if you need to
Yeah.
put mine back a little bit, it's okay. As far as putting a program together, I'm like, get other people done because I'm not even getting a chance to go check out a gym for a few days. So once I get that, I'll be able to kind of go through that a little bit more. And but with that said, just simple things like the prep and prime stuff that we went through has been better, like just like the hip switches and stuff like that and things like that I wasn't doing before that I'm doing now. So
Okay.
I can already feel like my adductors are starting to loosen up a little bit, just from
Good.
working them a little bit differently than what I had been. So those things are important. So yeah, at this point, like I am the biggest problem I have is getting all my food in. That's my biggest problem right now. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Too
I
full.
don't. I'm like, I feel like I'm eating all day long. I'm like, oh my God, I need another meal.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that I'm never not hungry. And over the past 2 days, it's been weird. I've been like super satisfied and satiated. I'm like,
Oh,
oh
really?
my God, this is what this feels like. I'm never satisfied. I can always eat. So this is a really weird feeling for me. But I think I'm always saying this around the 7th of the month, but I'm cycling for sure. And I'm like, was like a little nauseous yesterday. And Nikki
Yep.
and I are in sync and she started getting nauseous. So I was like,
Yep.
this is something to this. So,
Yep.
but I've never, I don't know what it is, but I know what it feels like now to be satisfied. I haven't felt that in years.
That's so funny. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because like when I was at your place, I was starting to get some cravings and things like that, and I was like, I knew that like I was feeling the cramping and stuff. I got my cycle on Friday.
See,
Yep.
see,
Yep.
we were
I was like,
talking about that. Yeah.
right there.
Yeah,
It's
well,
right there. Like you can feel it.
I knew because, we were trying we're this is an announcement for me, I guess, but we were trying to figure out if for sure I was doing Charlotte or not. So
Yeah.
the plan was for me to check in on Friday and my weight was like way up. I looked like a water buffalo. Jamie's like, "Can you come over?
Mm,
Something's off." So I went over and she's like, "You just have like a bunch of water." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm telling you, like I don't feel good. Like I felt like a
yeah.
truck ran over me all weekend." I told you too when you were at my house, like I was so tired. Like that's like I crash around like 4 o'clock, but I was crashing at like 1, 2 p.m. So anyway, she was like, all right, well, let's take it through the weekend. Let's check it back in again on Monday. I woke up yesterday and I was down 3 pounds
Oh
and
wow.
tight. So Drew's like, you need to check in. Like, you need to check in right now. So I checked in. Jamie saw me. She's like, all right, well, you look good. Let's hop into Charlotte. So I am going to do Charlotte. I signed the contract. So we're going to do that this weekend. And I'm, uh, I'm curious. I'm curious to see like what this softer, look, what they're gonna like, and I don't know. We'll see. but
Yeah.
I'm feeling a lot better compared to last week. That's for sure.
I saw you posting your stories that you sent your contract and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, she must be feeling good, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
well, it's like I said on the last podcast, I was like, well, if you get it now, then you'll be done by the time Charlotte's here, so you'll be good to go. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how that show goes too. I have one of my sponsor athletes doing her pro debut at that show, so I'm looking forward to seeing her. She hasn't been on stage in gosh, almost 2 years at this point. So
Wow.
yeah, she should have some pretty decent improvements. I just do her suits. I don't do anything else for her. So, but I'm excited to see her get up there and take over the stage, that kind of thing. So, I was
Yeah.
there
I've
when she
never
won. I was there
competed
when
at
she
this show
won.
before, so
Oh,
we'll
well,
see.
you were there. You were there last year, though, right?
No.
For some reason, I thought you were there.
No.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't know where. Well, this is my birthday weekend, so I forget where I was
That's
last year.
right. That's right.
I did something last year. We were on like a trip or something, and then I started prep right after. Anyway, but no, I was not there.
Yeah, it's going to be different this year because it's a 1 day show. Usually it's two. So
Got it.
this year they're just doing a 1 day show. I think it's still the same venue and all that kind of stuff. So, um, I was trying to see if I could get out there for it. Because Johnny promoter asked me to come cover it. You know what I mean? The freaking flights are ridiculous as far as like pricing, but also timing. The timing, I'm like, I can't be in the air or like traveling for 15 hours, 2 days. Like I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the
So
travel there was awful. We got it on an American flight. I think I spent like $750 on this flight
yep,
alone.
yep, yep. And even that,
Disgusting.
like I couldn't like from Vegas, I couldn't find a direct flight at all.
Yeah,
None.
no, and I'm not on direct either. No, but I'm staff on site, so I have to be there anyway. So I was like, if I'm
Yeah.
gonna be there, then I'm gonna compete.
Yeah, right.
So
Right, exactly. So do you have clients in it?
no, mm-mm,
Okay. Okay.
nope. Thank God.
You get to focus on you.
Yeah, I don't love putting athletes in shows the same weekend I'm competing. I can manage it very well. The only way I will do it is if I am competing and Drew is there too. So that way,
Mm,
like on peak week, Drew starts coming into the check-in, so he's starting to see the updates and what I'm changing, and then he's like
right.
involved in the entire process, and the athlete feels super comfortable because he's been involved. I have a first-time athlete competing at Girl Power, and I will not be there, but Drew will be. And she's a little nervous. She's like, what's going to happen? Like, is anyone going to be backstage? I'm like, I'm going to tell you this right now. Drew is the best stage dad ever.
Absolutely.
If I probably asked any of my roster, they would probably want him back there more than me. He is just on it. He's so good. So I was like, I
Yeah.
promise you're in great hands. He's the
He's,
best stage dad ever.
it made me laugh because like that weekend the Masters Nationals when Angel was in
Brutal.
when Angel was like when our pro card and everything too, where me and Drew were both in the audience fucking crying. We're like, what the hell's wrong with us?
Yeah. Well,
We're
it's like
like, we're both crying. I looked at him
yeah.
and he's getting all choked up. I'm looking at I'm like,
So cool. It's so cool. See it like all come together full circle.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
absolutely love
yeah.
it. So
It just,
cool.
that, and I love that too because it just shows like sometimes I feel like I'm like maybe am I the only one that gets like this? But like no, it's really cool to see other people that get that emotional because we invest a lot, like a lot of our own like self into helping other people succeed. So it's just really cool to see that happen for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, I know Drew would come out about this. He's been very vulnerable about it. Like on paper last year, it was not his best season as a coach. It was the least amount of pro cards he's gotten, the least amount of overalls. He literally just got his first amateur bikini overall a couple weekends ago. He's been robbed a lot of times. But yeah, on paper, that's what it looks like. But
Yeah,
obviously, we all know how much he does and how
that's right.
great he is. So, this year he was coming out, like a dog out of a crate, ready
Yeah,
to have a really, really good, coaching year this year. And I feel like last year he put in a lot of time with everybody else and with everybody else's
right.
roster and other athletes and always showing up backstage and stuff. And I said, this year is like your year, like really put your time in. And he already is starting off with a fantastic season. So I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
He's actually on a podcast right now upstairs for NASM. So
Oh, nice, nice.
yeah, super, super cool. And then he needs to
Yeah.
start his check-ins.
I know. I'm the same way. Once we get done with this, I was like, I'm looking at my inbox. I was like, damn it. Oh, jeez.
I woke up
But
to
yeah.
80 messages in Trainer Eyes this morning, 80.
So and it's never
It's just picking
ending.
up. Yeah,
It's
it's just
never
picking up.
ending.
Seasons picking up, and it's
Yep.
it's cool. It keeps us out of trouble, and I'm not complaining,
True.
but it's like it's a lot.
It's true. Like again, I was laughing when I was there at your house. I was like, all three of us were on calls all day long. Like we didn't leave our rooms. Like
Don't stop.
people don't realize how much time it actually takes, you know. And to your point with Drew, like I know he said that at the coaches weekend and everything too, that like it was a rough year for him as a coach. But we're all like, listen, you helped all of us grow, you know what I mean? Like your success is ours, you know what I
The
mean? Our
team.
success is yours. So there's something to be said for that, like in individual versus group, you know. So
Yeah,
sometimes again, like you said, looking on paper, it doesn't look like the most impressive thing in the world, but when you look at the whole span of things, that's where the impact actually is.
totally.
So I would not be the coach that I am today without his help, you know what I mean? So
Literally. I trained him very well, everybody. Okay. Remember, he came into this as a husband. So I trained him
that's
on
right.
that side. I trained him
That's
on the
right.
backstage side. Trained him with the crazy. Trained him with the bikini stuff. He's
I love
very
it.
trained.
I love it. Well, it made me laugh because I remember your one vlog that you did where he's talking about the magic sink, how all of your
The
dishes
magic
always get.
house. The magic
Yes.
house. That is
I
me.
said when I was there, I'm like, I pick up on things. I'm watching. I'm watching how you rinse and wash your dishes every time. And he kind of sticks them in the sink and waits, and I'm like,
There's the magic house coming around.
it's
He
magic. It's the
knows.
magic house. I was like,
He
Jordan's just
knows.
got that magic wand.
Literally. Doesn't work for me. When the magic house wants to turn on for me, it can do it any day now. I'm ready.
Oh my God, it cracked me up. I was like, this makes me laugh. But hey, to be fair, he's very, very well put together for a guy. Just gonna say, he's very, very
Oh
well put
yeah.
together.
Listen, I complain, but I don't have much to complain about. He doesn't play
No.
video games. He doesn't watch sports on Sundays. He doesn't make a big mess. The only thing I'll say is he's loud. Like if he's doing something, he slams things. Like he can't just like place things. But I think that's just a guy thing. So I
That's
don't have a lot to complain about.
that's nothing. At the end of the
That's
day,
nothing.
if that's all you can say, that's not anything to worry about right there.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. And
That's
I'm
too funny.
OCD, so cleaning for me is a thing, whether it's clean or it's not. So I might as well be cleaning if it's not.
No, I even noticed that too. You with your little vacuum cleaner every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, when you have two Goldens, yeah,
Yes.
it's get a
Yeah,
little crazy. Yeah.
they shut a lot. Yeah. They
Yeah.
were making me laugh too. Like your puppies. I was like, I'm gonna take them home with me.
Oh my God, it was so cute. Sean like called me in the room one night and I think it was Oliver. He was just like
Yeah.
all up on
On
me. Oh
top.
yeah. Yeah.
Literally like
He's the
his
snuggle bug.
either every paw was on either side of me. Like his whole body was on top of mine and his head was on my chest. I'm like, yeah, they're nice pillows. I get it. I totally
Yeah.
understand.
He'd lay there all day if you let him. He thinks he's a lap dog. Listen,
Oh
he's
my
getting so
God.
old. He's getting so like gray in the face. I'm like, whatever you want, buddy. Whatever you want at this point in your
Yeah.
life.
Well, that's what we say about Elvis because he's a yellow lab. So like he's getting older, but you can't tell because he's already white. You know what I
Yellow and
mean?
white.
So
Yeah.
labs are hard because it just seems like all like overnight they just go downhill because you just don't see the signs of aging. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So yeah.
Totally. I had a
Ugh,
lab growing up and it was like that. Like all of a sudden one day I was like, oh,
like what happened?
you're
Yeah, yeah.
aging.
Yeah, exactly. So it's you gotta every day that you have your dogs is precious regardless. But it's like as they start getting older, like you said, it's like anything you want, you got it, you got
Yeah.
it.
You can have it. I have bark boxes coming for them now. I mean, and those are my kids, so
Oh,
I'm good with
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. So in this building here, we have dogs and stuff like that in this building. But I feel like everybody's got a puppy. I'm like, everywhere I walk, everywhere I look, there's a new puppy. I'm like, oh my God.
That
Like, I
happened
want-
here in Christmas time. There's like a lot of new puppies, and I was
yes.
like, oh my God, everybody got a dog for Christmas.
I know. I think that's what's happened. I think they all they're like at this point a few months old kind of thing. So
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
just like, oh my God. I was like, everybody's got a puppy. Everybody.
Yep.
Like,
I can deal with a puppy right now. That gives me anxiety.
oh, I know. Same. I'm like, I'll pet you and be nice and all that. But you're right. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a
Yeah, if
lot.
anybody else wants to get a puppy, then I'll partake in the
Right.
puppy. But
Yeah, that's right. Just dog sit for a little bit. No big deal.
yeah, I'm a really good auntie.
Same.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
it's the best part about like even with kids, like regular kids. I'm like, I'll play with you and then you can go home.
Yes. Connor, Drew's middle brother, had his first baby a year. She just turned a year in March, and then I'm like, I'm just the fun auntie. I'm gonna put money in a
That's
bank
right.
account for her every
That's right.
season holiday until she's 18. She'll have a lot of money coming out when she's 18. I'll be the cool one who takes her shopping. But the best part is I get to give her back at the end of the
That's
day.
exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Don't have to deal with all the crap.
Yep. Get to load her up on sugar and ice cream. Hopefully I'll be retired by then. We'll be hanging out, having fun. Oh yeah, I can't wait. I can't
Yeah,
wait.
that's great. Like actually my best friend was just in Europe with her niece. So her niece just turned 18 or whatever. So they went on a little European trip.
Cool.
I was like, I'm a little jealous. I'm like, that's pretty cool that you guys can do that together. You know what I
That's
mean?
really cool.
So
That's really
yeah.
cool. I would
She's
love
sending
to
me
do that.
pictures and stuff from like Rome and Venice and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous.
That's like a trip. That's like the best gift because it's something she'll never, ever
That's right.
forget. You know, it's
100%.
like the memories. It's just, well, it's
Absolutely.
precious. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's gonna be me eventually. How old is my niece now? She's 14.
Oh,
She's
she's
getting
getting up
there.
there.
She's
She's
getting
getting
there.
there. Right now,
Yeah.
she's in the, well, if it was, I was bratty. 13.
Oh, actually, I take it back. She is
Geez.
13. That's right. She's 13. She's 13 now.
Okay. 13
Yeah.
is like, I know it all, you know, like bratty, bratty. And then I grew out of it at like 15, 16. I was coming to.
I still haven't grown out of it. I'm still there. I know it all.
That's good. That's good. Super funny.
I can remember that though when I was a kid. Like my my parents used to say all the time, like, you just know everything, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I do.
I know my dad used to say that too. And now,
I'm like, I do.
now I see like adults do it. And I'm like,
Yeah,
you know, like with coaching, I'm like, then why are you hiring me if you know it all?
that's right. Absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah, all the time. It's like, okay, you know better. It's okay. But you're right. It's like, why hire
Bring
me
it
if you know
down.
it's yeah. Like, why hire me if you know it? Like, I don't
I
understand.
know. I know that. I know. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Right? Yeah, that's amazing. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah. It's like that's where when I say like the learning mindset, that's what I mean by that because I used to be like that. Like I know it all. I
Yeah.
don't want help. I don't want you to
Yes.
educate me. I only respect the people that I respect. And I've really flipped that over the past like really like 5 to 6 years, really when I got out of college, because then I started
Yeah.
really meet like I did respect my professors, but I didn't respect them in their profession and where they
Yeah.
came from. You know what I mean?
Makes
Like
sense.
I studied under Bill Campbell and I didn't realize at the time who Bill Campbell was, but I
Yeah.
studied under him. You know, it wasn't really until I got out into the world where Bill Campbell was this massive educator for what we were doing, you know, but again, too, in the program, I didn't realize I wanted to do coaching. I was just studying exercise science. So it's just
Right.
cool, like, you know, hindsight 2020 and then being able to like step up as an adult and be like, I do not know everything. And that's why I
That's
always say,
right.
like, I always want to be the dumbest person in the room because I want to
Absolutely.
learn. I always want to
Absolutely.
learn. Yeah.
Absolutely. That student mentality is huge. It's
Yeah.
huge because there's always something that you can learn. This is actually a good segue into our
I was just
topic.
about to say that's probably
Yes.
my first one.
Yeah, this is
That's
a
my
really
first
good
one.
segue. Because
All right, you guys, we are almost 2 weeks out from my show, so I have my skin prep ready from Liquid Sunrays. They've sent me my kit. You have your exfoliating body towel. This is going to make your skin nice and smooth, not too rough on the exfoliating. pH balancing body wash, which is super, super important. You want to make sure that your skin is pH balanced, so it's going to absorb your tan perfectly. This is your charcoal sugar scrub, which is the bomb. This is my favorite product that Liquid Sunrays has right here. And something about this, it just makes that tan really soak in deep. And then last but not least, we have our Liquid Sunrays body lotion, which you're gonna put on every single time you get out of the shower, and that's just gonna put your skin into really good condition when it goes to actually get sprayed for the tan. So we're starting this today and making my skin perfect for that tan as we get into the competition season.
good segue. Because one of the questions that was asked was, have we had any Eureka moments that like just everything kind of came together? So go if you want to expand on that a little bit as far as that Eureka moment for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes down to there was several times in either my career or, you know, as an athlete where, you know, you think you're doing everything right, but you're not really getting the result that you want, or you know, are faced with something in a check-in. And I'm the first one to always say, like, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll figure it out.
Right.
And that happened a lot more times than it does now, where, you know, somebody would propose something to me or ask me something like, I don't know that. So I need to go, you know, get the resource. And I started
Right.
realizing how much I didn't know, you know,
Yep.
even, you know, from a science background about the sport, etc. You know, college is college and it's a great segue of education, but I'm always a big believer that like hands-on experience is really what you're gonna retain and use. And I think a lot of people just get too comfortable either coming out of college and they're just solidified and comfortable in what they learned and not continuing to educate. Drew and I are really, really big on continuing education, especially within this space because things are
Yeah.
changing all the time. And even if you don't necessarily like a certain or other coaches or educators' perspective, it's still nice to hear where they're coming from on that. Even if you don't agree with it, that way you're getting a different lens and it kind of opens up your brain to other lenses of other ideas too. And so when I started just trying to tell myself, I want to learn from everybody. I don't have to remember everything. I don't have to agree with everything, but I want to hear people out. I want to speak less and hear more. It's really helped me over the years. Really, really helped me become a better professional, a better coach. Even hearing people's tone and the way they say things, and like, oh, I like the way they do that. Oh, I don't like the way they do that. And just the way that you also learn communication skills and what helps people or not.
100%. And that's one of the things I was just about to say, that like I watch a lot of podcasts, things like that, and some of these old school bodybuilders, just the way they come off, not wanting to even try to accept new ways. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, just like open up your mind a little bit, like like you said, like the tonality, like you can tell they're just completely closed off. I'm like, things have changed since 1970. I'm like, I'm sorry, things are a little different now. Like, it's okay to realize that you didn't know everything then and you still don't know everything now. Like, we still don't. Like I said, like that's why I came out there to Arizona. I'm like, every time I do something like that, I have eureka moments. I have things where I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense now. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, and then you can apply that to new things and to other aspects. And like I said, anytime that I have a eureka moment, I can apply that to one of my
You're an athlete.
clients. Yeah. And just help them with that too. And it's like all of a sudden they start clicking and it's like things just start coming together faster that way.
Yeah, I think people get too like caught up in like, oh, well, this old way worked for me.
That's right.
And cool, it did.
That's
Problem.
right.
No problem. But
Yep.
what more potential could you have if you tried a new way? Or what's the worst that can happen? You try the new way and you're just still back where you are. You don't get any better, you
Absolutely.
don't get any worse, right? So I think it's just, expanding and being open to things. And that's not even just education, that's everything. Just be
Right.
open-minded, be
That's right.
open to feedback. You don't have to take the feedback, but you can respect it, you can listen to it, internalize it, and be like, cool, next, move on.
Well, that was actually one of my eureka moments, is the aspect of like meal plans versus macros, right? So back old school, it was like everybody did meal plans. Just
Yeah.
macros wasn't even a thing. Like people didn't, there was a word for that. You know what I mean? Like, and I always, it was a hard mental shift because you're just taught for over a decade. Myself, I was taught for over a decade that this is just how it's done,
It's the only way. Mm-hmm.
So, but I kept saying to myself, I was like, as we know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I didn't get to where I wanted to be doing that. So I have to try something else. I have to just let go and trust the process and see what happens. And I'm so glad that I did that. I've made more progress in the last 4 years than I did the entire time before that. You know what I mean? And it's just freed my mind. I mean, knowing that I can eat whatever I want to eat. I don't have to go binge when I'm freaking hungry or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that was a huge thing for me. Huge, huge, huge. Because even before I was in bodybuilding, I was modeling and doing all that stuff too. So it was starvation. It was like you just starved yourself to lose weight so you could be skinny for the camera. I mean, that's what you did. You know what I mean? So knowing that I can now not put fucking weight on when you're eating nearly 3,000 calories a day, it's like,
Crazy.
it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, this stuff actually works. Now, here's the other thing too, because I think I just had a client that sent me a whole long thing this weekend about this. This does not happen overnight, right? So you're going to have this eureka moment of, okay, this actually works, but it takes time for your body to process these things. And, my client this weekend was like, why don't I look like the other girls on Fit Body Fusion? I'm like, you've only been doing this for a few months. You know what I mean? Give yourself some time. And to be fair, she's made a shit ton of progress. I'm just being real. She's made a ton of progress. I'm like, but she can't see herself that way. I'm like, to be honest with you, you're way ahead of the game in regard to progress as far as this is concerned. You know what I mean? But you got to give yourself a chance to like acclimate to it as well. So, you know, that aspect of just letting go and trusting the process. that's a huge thing that I've been a big proponent of that my whole life. Because again, going back to, we just talked about this a second ago. Why am I hiring you if I'm not gonna do what you're telling me to do? You know what I mean? So I'm gonna do
Because
it.
we don't see ourselves the way other people do.
That's right. That's
I
right.
mean, how many
Yep.
times have you gone back through your camera roll in a prep and you remember so vividly the way that you felt that day about that
Yep.
check-in? And you're like, holy shit, I was shredded. But you were thinking during that time, you were picking yourself apart, you were fixating on this, you thought that you were overweight, whatever it is, but you weren't,
Yep.
and that's always a eureka moment for me when I'm going back to the camera and I'm like, God, I remember that check-in that day and how awful I felt and how I was picking
Yep.
myself. And look, it's perfect. Like, it's beautiful. We don't
Mm-hmm.
see ourselves the same way that our coaches do. This is why coaches have coaches. We talk about that all the time. This is a very emotional sport. It's
Right.
so emotional. It's so cerebral. And we're women. Okay. So I can say it. We're emotional beings, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Being emotional is fine. But we have to have that leverage with our coach to say, this has been going on with Jamie and I for a week and a half now. She tells me I'm ready. I'm like, no, I'm not. And then I
Yeah.
just keep leaning on her and telling her I'm feeling, and she just keeps validating my feelings, but also telling me that I'm a little crazy. So that's why I have her. So, then when I get to a point of, okay, I see it now, she's like, okay, finally, let's now hop into the show. But if I
Yep.
didn't have her, I would never step on stage. I would
That's
never
right.
think I was ready. I would, you know what I mean? Like, I would think 3 days ago that was body fat. I can't drop 3 pounds of body fat overnight. So clearly she hit the nail on the head that I was all water.
Yep.
So that's, another eureka moment is we don't see ourselves the same way that
That's
other
right.
people do. And we're going to
Absolutely.
point out something on our physique that nobody else recognizes.
Absolutely. Like we focus on the negative. Everybody else just looks at the full picture. We're
Yeah.
like, oh, my belly looks bloated. That's what we see. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's what we see. They don't see that
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
There was a really cool
Absolutely.
post that one of my old clients actually posted a couple days ago. I meant to tell her that it was cool. She posted, and it was her doing some sort of exercise. And she's like, I almost didn't post this because the only thing that I see is like my stomach rolls hanging out at the top. And I'm like, I watched the video for a minute before that. I didn't even see that until
Yeah.
she wrote it in the caption. But that's, a great thing of like, that's where her eye goes. But I wasn't even looking at it. I was looking at the glutes. I was looking at the exercise. I was looking at the gym in the background. I wasn't even looking at that little thing that she hyper focused on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also just like little things too that they maybe don't focus on that are really important. Like I have a client that's
Right.
had some issues with her knees and things like that. And she used to wear knee braces and she doesn't anymore when she trains. And she sent me videos and she was going too fast with her reps. So her knees were getting all buckly. And I was like, listen, I was like, either you got to slow down or you got to put the knee braces back on. And for her, she was like, she felt defeated. I said, no, 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 no. I said, you just need to focus on the fact that you need to pay attention to that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you hurting yourself. Right.
Yeah.
So we focus on the things that are going to make you perform better versus the things that you like. She's just focused on the fact that she's gonna
Aesthetic.
get through this. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm like, no, 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 no. We gotta be careful too. You know what I mean? So we focus on those things. We focus on things that make you better.
Got to train smart, got to train efficiently.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's see. Speaking of training, so this was a Eureka moment for me. This was a long time ago. I used to work in gyms and stuff like that, even before I got into the fitness industry. So my first gym job was as a lifeguard. And then I worked front desk at a bunch of gyms, things like that. So if you ever worked front desk at a corporate gym, what they make you do when you sign on is they make you go through an assessment with their gym trainers, things like that. So you know how the whole process works, all of those kinds of things. So I was working at Bally's in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I went through my assessment, and that was the first time that I ever actually felt my abs like contract when I when I did a crunch. I was like, oh, that's what it's supposed to feel like. You ever see people at the gym that are just like going like this with their abs? Like they're not
Yeah.
actually doing anything. They're just yanking their neck more than anything else. I mean,
Yanking
that's
their
what I
neck and
yeah,
their low back. Yeah.
that's basically what I've been doing. And all of a sudden he made me like feel my abs. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I was doing this wrong. Like this I was in my 20s at this point. I'm like, well, damn, that's what it feels like to actually feel your abs contract. You know what I mean? I was like, it was a huge, I still remember it to this day. I was in my early 20s when this happened. And I was like, wow, that was such a eureka moment. Cause I didn't know. I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like that happens a lot with our athletes on Fit Body Fusion because something that we incorporated into all of our coaching over the last year was training footage.
Yes.
A lot of training footage, and I love hearing from the athlete that gets that training. They send me the video first. I give them the training feedback, and then we get that second round of feedback, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've never felt my glutes like this. I've
Right.
always felt low back, or I've never felt my glutes." And that's that eureka moment for them.
Yep.
We don't know what we don't know. We don't know how an exercise is supposed to feel until we feel it correctly.
That's right.
We don't know how the exercise is supposed to be done until we're taught how to do it correctly. And that's my famous line. Like, I can't fault you for knowing what you do not know, but
That's
you
right.
have to
Absolutely.
be open to the feedback. I'm always very clear on my consult calls. Like, when I give you feedback, it's direct. It is very, very direct. It's going to point out every single flaw. It's not meant to break you down as a human being, but it is going to break down your form.
Yep.
But it's to better you in the end. And the more that I can find, honestly, the better, because that's the reason why you're not growing. And you're going to make like these newbie gains so much out the gate because you're just learning how to train again. That is something that's really, really frustrating for me too, being, I would consider myself a decent personal trainer, an in-person trainer. That's how I made my living before I was an in-person coach and obviously own a gym. There's so many bad in-person trainers.
Absolutely.
So many. I would say, honestly, for every 10 personal trainers, one of them is fantastic. One of them. Like, that's
Agreed.
how rare it is. So, the trainer that taught you how to do your or feel your abdominals, that was a good trainer. But like, there's so many times that I'm standing in a gym, I see gyms all the time with how much I travel, and these trainers are literally just standing there not doing anything. They're not helping the athlete at all. Like, if you're a really good personal trainer, you can look at every single rep, even the most perfect reps, and still find something that's wrong with it.
100%.
So yeah, that is a good eureka moment.
Yeah. Or even just pushing yourself, like, just basic things. Like when I was doing my assessment and training and stuff with Drew this past week, it's like, okay, do another rep, do another one. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, if I was by myself, I wouldn't be doing that shit. You know what I mean? Like, those are the things that you take for granted sometimes. Like, oh, that's what it feels like to have somebody actually paying attention to what you're doing.
Totally. He mentioned that he was training another athlete out here this week, and he said, pick up dumbbells for an RDL, and she picked up 25s for her top set weight. And he said, oh no, we're picking up 40s. And she was like, no, I'm not. And he's like, oh no, we are. He's like, we're picking up 40s and we're going for 15. She actually ended up going for 12. And she looked at him, she's like, I would never have touched those weights. And that's the thing. Like, that's something that I tell you guys all the time. My first coach was fantastic at that. He taught me how to push through failure. But I would not have known how to unless someone taught me. And, that's where a lot of the times I think it is good, even if it's temporary, to go get an in-person trainer, a good one. And then, make sure that they're looking at that, pushing you, or just looking at your own training footage. Sean, you just mentioned your client, moving too fast. Some of that too is maybe it's a little too light for her, right? So if it was a little bit heavier, you can't move that fast.
That's right.
I tell my athletes, like, look at your bar speed. If your bar speed is that fast, it's probably not heavy enough.
That's right.
But again, these are all things that I've learned over time. I didn't know these things until someone pointed out to me when I was doing it wrong one day. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. What about you? Another eureka moment for you?
The what that I thought of, which is very, very simple and silly, but for those of you that do DIY tan and you hate the wrists and the ankles and the neck with that really harsh line, taking a makeup brush, having a makeup brush on you when you're doing your DIY and buffing out those edges as you go makes that tan chef's kiss. Someone gave me that. Kelly actually gave me that a couple of years ago, that hot tip. And I was like, oh my God, that's genius. So carry a dirt or extra makeup brush with you.
And on that same vein with the tanning stuff, like having the eureka moments, I have the issues of the rougher skin on my sit bones. So it absorbs the tan more, right?
Yep.
So in my world, I was like, well, if I exfoliate that area better, then it won't do that. When you exfoliate, you cut your skin up even more. So it actually made it worse. You know what I mean? And Marilyn's Liquid Sunray, she's like, you actually need to lotion that area more. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
I was going to say that too. Because I used to have major issues too with tanning, and everything cleared up when I started moisturizing more.
Yep. And then also what we did this year differently was, like, Jamie would always laugh when I went to check in with her the night of the show because I would go get sprayed, but not in that area. So my entire body would be sprayed with tan except for my sit bones. I'm like, she's like, your butt's just white. I'm like, I know they're gonna spray me in the morning because then it had time to develop but not overdevelop. You know what I mean? So we also combated it that way. So it makes me laugh when I look back at some of like the check-in pictures that like Greg has taken in the room the night before the show, and I'm like, my ass is white, but the rest of me looks good.
We figured that out in the morning.
I know, I'm like, don't worry, they're gonna spray it in the morning just so that it doesn't overdevelop, and I have those little marks back there and everything. You know what I
Totally.
mean?
Yeah.
The stupid stuff we have to do, man. Oh my god, it's crazy.
The
I'm like,
tan is the
well,
worst part. The tan is the
tan
worst
is
part.
the worst part. If I could do everything for a show and not have to tan, I would compete every weekend.
I
I hate
agree.
it.
I totally
I
agree.
hate it. Like
Yeah.
I even do self tan a lot. Like when I came out to Arizona, that I haven't been putting it on for a couple of weeks, and Jamie was like, "This is the whitest I have ever seen."
Yeah,
Like,
she said that you gave me a run for my money because I'm usually the ghostly one, but you and I are
girl,
pretty fair. Yeah, you
I
and I
am
are see
so
through.
white, so
Yeah,
white.
we're
And then I
see
got the
through.
red hair too, so I look like a ginger, like a real true ginger. Like, yeah. I'm see-through. I'm see-through. I've got the blue veins and everything. I'm like, I went back to pole dancing this week yesterday. I have bruises everywhere. And you can see it, like you probably can see this one right here.
Oh
I have
yeah,
bruises
totally.
everywhere from the freaking
One up
pole.
by your elbow too. Yeah.
Oh, was it? I was like that. I'm like, I don't even know because I was grip and pull like this. So this part of my arm was up against the pole, so it's all bruised. Yeah, it's fun times. I'm like, I look like I'm like an addict or something. I have bruises
You got beat up by your
everywhere.
boyfriend.
I know. I'm like, I got my like I the one spin that I learned yesterday. I have this like hip like a burn, like a skin burn from the freaking from the pole. I'm like, oh Lord Jesus. I'm like, I
I
look
know when you do it
rough.
in a two-piece suit, like you don't
Uh-huh.
you go all the way.
Yep,
Yeah.
because the other part of it too is like they have the silicone poles in there. So if you want to do it with your clothes on and stuff, you can. But I'm like, fuck it. I'm like, I don't know. I like being in a bikini.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, especially for the videos. But I'm
Hell
like, if
yeah.
I were to do it, I mean, I'm like a bruiser. Yeah, I don't know. I give you a lot of credit.
I
We'll
know.
have to do it when I come out there. I want to, but
100%.
yeah,
I was gonna
for
say that
sure.
too because Drew came out for the Samson Showdown, but you didn't, and I was thinking about that. I was like, man, she could have come out. We could have gone pole dancing.
I know I was trying to get out there, but like with the season coming up, I just the
Oh yeah,
dogs,
you
you know.
100%
Ugh,
understand that. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Hmm.
not fair. It's not fair when we're on the road for 4 weeks in a row and we're getting to that time of year where we're going to be on the road a lot.
Yeah.
So,
But just so you know, Drew really wants you to do pole dancing. Just so you know.
oh, I'm sure he does. I'm sure.
We were talking about that again in my assessment. He's like, "Oh, I told Jordan she needs to do it." I'm like, "If she does."
Next thing I know, he's going to buy me a pole for Christmas or something.
Yep, yep. It'll be that. That'll be your new guest. That'll be your new guest room.
I'm gonna retire. I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna come out and hang
Well,
out
that's what
with
Dan said.
you.
He's like, too bad you can't do the Olympia with pole dancing. I said, I can. I said, Oksana won it in fitness doing pole dancing routines. I was like, this
That's
may,
right.
yeah. I'm like, this may be my entrance. Remember, I told you if I could compete in any division, it would be
Be
fitness.
fitness.
I'm like, maybe this is my way to do it right here. I'm
Damn,
just saying.
Sean. You're just making your way to all the divisions right now.
I know I'm literally gonna compete in every division before I'm done.
Why not? You're legendary. You're allowed. You might
Like
have to learn to do some tumbling, but you know.
the problem with fitness is that I don't think I can do the required like strength moves and stuff like that.
The
Oh,
6 moves.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah, I can't do them.
like the push up with
Yeah, no,
the
yeah. I couldn't even
don't.
do a push up for Drew during my assessment. He's like, fail. I was like, bro, my bad. I didn't.
That push up's hard. That push up, the
I
assessment
know.
push up.
I didn't know what he was looking for either. So I'm just like, I don't do push ups.
That's the
Like, I don't.
point.
I know. I was like, I don't do push ups. I don't even know how to fucking do them. I don't do push ups. He's like,
Well,
fail.
the
I was like,
hard
okay.
part in the assessment is that you have to have it in line with your chin, which is not like a normal
Yeah.
setup for a push
Yeah.
up. So it really like decreases your levers that you're able to use to keep,
Yeah.
go up at the same time. It's difficult.
I was like, I don't even know what I did wrong, but okay, I guess I failed.
Wrong, fail.
He laughed so hard. I'm like, all right, cool. Thanks, Drew.
He doesn't
Love you
sugarcoat
too.
it at all.
I know, right? That's
So
okay.
funny.
I passed other things that I hadn't passed before, like some of the core stuff. I passed that one. The hip hinge, I passed. He's like, that's perfect. I was like, well, because I do these things every day, so I know what I'm supposed to do with this. You know, I'm
I'd
like,
much rather
I don't
pass on
do
a hip
this.
hinge. I'd much rather
Fuck
pass
yeah,
on a hip hinge than a push up.
hell yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I literally cannot remember the last time I did a push up. Cannot remember. I'm
Probably
like, I don't.
PE when you were doing
Oh,
your, remember the pull up and the sit and reach
yeah,
test and the push up test
yep.
and the mile. Yeah, probably then.
Probably then. I'm like, I don't. I'm like, that's probably the last time I did it. I don't know. Girls don't do push-ups. We don't do that.
Buy them.
Yeah, right. I'm like, no,
Buy our
that's not my
chest.
thing. Oh Lord. But yeah, fun times. Fun times. Let's see. So I got more. Oh, so something else that happened. This was a eureka moment for me too. During the assessment last week, we changed my um rest periods between sets for like based on heart rate versus time.
Mm. Yep, it's a good
So
one.
like bringing the heart rate down. I was like, oh, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. He's like, yeah, you know, because you get recovered so that you can go and do another set. And this is something else that I wasn't doing too. Like, for example, if you're doing lunges or whatever, you do your right leg, wait for your heart rate to come back down, you do your left leg. You know, I've never done that. I've just gone back to back. I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's like, I don't know why I didn't think about that before. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, okay. So we're again, I'm doing the bring my heart rate down between the rest periods versus just sitting there for 60 seconds or whatever it might be. Make sure my heart rate's down and recovered.
Yeah, there's a couple caveats that not everybody has an Apple Watch, number two,
True.
or
Yes.
number one. And number two, I think people get too obsessed with the heart rate itself. You know what I mean? And not necessarily like I was going to ask you, what was your top set heart rate? So probably when you were, at most highest exertion is probably somewhere between 160 to 180, right? So then we allow it to come down to like
Right.
130, 140, then we come back
Right.
up. But people get so obsessed with like hitting a certain heart rate, and it's not about that. It's literally just seeing what the top of that heart rate usually is for that exercise. And these are things you could put in your logbook, and then allowing it to come back down to kind of like, we don't even want baseline. We don't want you to be fully rested, but just at a good, like maintainable, starting point.
And you do have to find what that is too. You know what I mean? Like, because like you
Just play
said,
with it.
some of the exercises you're going to have a higher heart rate versus others. So just kind of understanding how. And I think the way to figure that out too is to see how long it takes you to come down. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then
Yeah.
you know where to go at that point and adjust
a
it.
lot of variables are into this too. Like genetically, are you a more aerobic athlete? So like
Yeah.
for our track people, marathon runners who come into the sport, like aerobically, there's so much more condition. So their resting and working heart rate are so much lower than an average person.
That's right.
When you start prep after an improvement season, your heart rate gets high fast because you're not conditioned yet. You've barely done any cardio. When you're 6-8 weeks into prep, your body's starting to get conditioned. That fasting or rested heart rate is going to be much lower. And then so is your active calories burned and your heart rate during exercise. I have athletes that notice that a lot. They're like, hey, I'm like midway through prep. Is something wrong? My active calories aren't at that high. My heart rate's not getting that high. I'm like, no, you're just conditioned. You've been doing a lot of cardio and you have less food and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So we get so focused on the number. We also have to realize like what's happening at the time, because a lot of things affect that number.
Absolutely. Because I was just about to say that too, because my heart rate does spike a lot faster right now because I'm not doing cardio. So it's like when I'm actually training, my heart rate goes up quite a bit higher than it used to, because I'm not doing anything like that. You know what I mean? So it does make a difference as far as where you are personally in your season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Like at the start of prep, like it's very easy for me to start a treadmill walk and I get up to 140 beats per minute like that. Like I can barely get over 119 beats per minute right now. It's like but I've been in prep for a while. So you just remember those things, when you're looking at that data. But it's a really good tool of measurement. I think rest breaks, we talk about rest breaks a lot and people ask all the time, well, how long should I be resting? The rule of thumb is like under 30 seconds. If you feel like, you get done with if you get done with a set and you feel like you can immediately go into another one, you're definitely not training to failure. If it's under 30 seconds where you feel like you go into a set, I would still say that you're probably not training heavy enough. Like an ideal rest that you need is at least 60 seconds. That's like a good gauge to know, like, okay, I trained, really hard and heavy. That gave time for the muscle to recoup energy. Now let's go into the next set. And even for some people, it's a little bit longer than that. There's sometimes on an exercise I have to take a 3-minute rest. Honestly, the more rest you need, probably the more you're pushing. So everybody's different that way, but 30 seconds or less, I would encourage you to think about walking that weight up. That's a really good way for you to know if you are training to intensity or progressive overload. You should feel like after a set, you need the rest.
Absolutely. And that's, like you said, that's a good way to gauge. This is also why when you start a prep, you need to be in a really good spot as far as your food and your cardio, because it's not linear. As you start getting more conditioned, it's going to be harder for you to get your heart rate up and to get that cardio to actually make the results you needed to make. So if you're starting out your prep at an hour of cardio, you got nowhere to go.
Right.
You got nowhere to go. Your body's just going to get used to it, and you're going to be like, okay, now I've got 3 hours of cardio. You know what I mean? And you're still not burning enough. So
that's where I like try to push athletes, like in the beginning of prep. That's when you're the freshest, right? You're the freshest mentally, you're the freshest physically, like push now in the beginning. That way, when you do start to get conditioned, when also fatigue starts settling in, that it offsets it that way. You're almost ahead of schedule when the fatigue starts to set in. So like in the beginning of that prep, when you're feeling fresh, like push hard on the cardio, like not having we're just going to ease into the prep. Like, no, day one, go hard. Like even if your cardio is only 15 minutes, make it the most intense 15 minutes of your life. That's how you get ahead and utilize those extra calories that you have in that front half of that prep.
Yep, absolutely. So let's do another one. You got another Eureka moment?
Not really. I know you said you had a bunch of them.
I have one more that I think was a good one, was the sodium aspect.
I was going to say something about sodium. Okay, so what was your Eureka moment?
Well, I never really paid attention as much. This was something that happened even in Hawaii, when I competed in Hawaii, right? So we were doing sodium, and Jamie's like, so how much are you doing? I had my little grinder. I was like, I do 3 shakes or whatever it was. And she's like, no, but how much is that? I was like, I don't know. I just do the same thing on everyone. And she's like, but you need to know how much sodium that is. I was like, oh, like I didn't realize it was that big of a thing. So this season was the first time that I actually like weighed out my sodium and had my little packets of sodium for every single meal. So I made sure I hit it exactly every single day. And it made such a huge difference in how my look showed up. Such a huge difference. I didn't realize how big of an impact that made, and of course the water balance as well. But like that, I was like, wow, like that, I've been doing it wrong for freaking 15 years.
And I've said too, like the 2020, the start of the what year is in 2025? The start of the 2024 season is when I started to really track sodium to a T. And again, that was the I know it all mindset of like, I don't do that much sodium. It's not about having too much or too little. It's about keeping it consistent in the prep.
Right.
It's about keeping a maintainable physique and a very consistent and predictable physique. So that was the first time I started tracking sodium, and to be same thing. I would go to Jamie. She's like, how much sodium we're doing, and I'm like, I don't know. I just put something in. And she's like, well, how much is that? We had the same conversation, and Drew was fighting me about this for a couple of years, but it was not something my first coach had me do. And I was successful up until that point. Yeah. So I have in my mind, I don't have to do this. I've been successful. But these are the things that you have to open up your mind to of, yes, you have been successful up until this point, but how much room are you leaving on the table by doing something that appears to be super small, but makes a huge difference? Huge. Now that I'm a contest prep coach, there is a major difference in the athletes that track their sodium and do not. I know for sure I have a handle on their physique, and the ones that come into the room and I ask them, hey, how much water have you had today? And they're like, I immediately know we have a problem. They're not, they're not locked in. How much sodium have you had today? You go in there, MyFitnessPal, nothing's tracked. Like those are the changes or the variance between my top athletes and the ones that want to be at the top, but they're just not doing those little things that it's going to take to get there. Those are the controllables. Those are things we have control over. There's been most of the time we don't have to manipulate sodium and water. We're keeping things very consistent. But if I need to make you a little bit drier, that's what I'm going to look at first. If I need to soften you up, that's what I'm going to look at first. And if you don't even have a baseline, we're fucked.
Right.
So
100%.
And it's just so easy to do. It's so easy.
Yep. And like we talked about, like they even come like the little Himalayan sea salt packets, like they come in packets. You don't
You
even
get
have to weigh
1,000 of them
them.
on Amazon. Like it's not,
Yeah.
yeah,
You don't
it's
have to
not
measure it. You just dump the thing on there and then you know exactly how much you're putting in your body. You know what I
exactly,
mean? It's really
exactly.
not that hard to do. So, and that's something like I don't do that now when I'm in off season, but as soon as I get into a prep, that's when I start doing it because then again, we can manage it as we go through that. And I just try to keep everything as relatively consistent as I can throughout the off season, not to the point where I'm like, I got to measure every last grain of sodium, but still consistent, you know?
Totally.
Everything in this sport is consistency over time, period. And this is another thing going back to like a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to compete, but I want to look like a competitor. I'm like, okay, do you want to manipulate your sodium like that then? Because that's what they're doing in order to look that way. You know what I mean? Like you don't just wake up looking like that, you know? So that
I
all
think
of
that
that
was one
goes
of the
into
cool
it.
things about the post I posted last week is like, people don't ever remember like how long you've been in it, the journey to get there. So like the post I'm referring to is I posted my very first check-in photos until the check-in photos of right before the Arnold. And I like didn't have the genetics for this sport. I literally just have worked my butt off to get here, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I also want to encourage people too. I know I hear always in the beginning, like, oh, I hate my check-in photos. I don't want to take photos. I don't want to share. You're going to want the photos eventually.
100%.
Nikki put this really beautiful remembrance video of, the Arnold for me. And she wanted like a bunch of footage from the beginning. And I didn't have a lot because I was the same. I didn't want to train and I didn't take a lot of training footage. Like, take the footage. You don't
Yep.
have to share it now, but you will want it
Yep.
later.
Well, they even talk about that, like when you said that I don't want to take the footage, like they talk about that with women who have babies. Like they don't want to take pictures with their babies when they've just had a baby because they look like shit. They put on weight and all that kind of stuff. Like, but then when you get older and the kid gets older, you're gonna be upset that you don't have those
You're going to
photos.
want them. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So take all the photos now.
Exactly.
All of them. All of them.
I wish I did more. I wish I did more in the
Yeah.
beginning, like that's why I'm investing in content creation now. Like there's going to be a time in my life where I want to look back on all this hard work and all these moments to be able to remember them, and the only thing that you
Absolutely.
have is the photos. So
That's right.
take the photos, even if you're uncomfortable right now, you will appreciate them eventually. And it's really cool to look back and see how far you've come for sure.
Absolutely. And then you realize, okay, all this work was worth it. I'm glad that I did all of that at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the growth, like not even the growth in the gym, like the growth of you as a human being, and you remember like how you felt at that time and how uncomfortable you were and how much you were grinding, and it just really makes you appreciate when you look back on the journey, and that's
Yep.
what this is it's a journey in bodybuilding. We talk about that all the time. It shouldn't just be about the aesthetic or the physique. It should be about how it changes you as a person, how it
Right.
makes you better, how it makes you have grit, and going back and looking at those, memes, we call them, it's cool. It makes you remember like and appreciate the journey and how far you've come.
Absolutely. 100%. Well, I think that's a really good way to kind of end this out for today. So when do you head out to Charlotte?
I leave on Thursday.
Yay. That's why we're doing the
Yay.
podcast today, guys, because
Yes.
he's heading out to actually compete. So for those of you that
Yes.
think you can't do work and compete, here's exhibit A right there. She's doing it for you
Hi.
right there. We like again, we live in this sport. Like, don't get me wrong, like we have reasons to be on top of things, but if you really want something bad enough, you can make it happen. You know what I
You
mean?
figure it
So
out. You figure it
yeah.
out. Yeah.
So we'll have to be paying attention. I don't think the pro list is out yet as far as for this weekend, but I'm sure it'll come out
Not
probably
yet. I just
tomorrow.
checked. I just
Yeah. Oh,
checked.
that's right.
Not
Because
yet.
it's so 3 o'clock Eastern time is when you have your deadline to get your
Is
contract
it or
in.
is it
So
noon?
oh, you might be right. Regardless,
Or
it was
or
just a
was it
few
my,
hours ago.
oh wait, is it noon my time and 3 Eastern?
I
Maybe
think I
that's
think
why I
that might
have
be
that
right.
in my
I think
head.
that might be right. Yes, I think that might be right.
So
So
usually it's out about like 5 to 6 our
yeah.
time.
Yeah, because I had a competitor last year who was prepping for a show, and then I realized she was just a posing client. I realized her name wasn't on the list, and I was like, "What's going on?" She's like, "I didn't get my contract in on time." I was like, "Oh Lord!" And you knew you were doing this show for weeks too. Like she had everything booked,
Adair
she
did
had her
that.
flights, everything, all of it booked, and she just didn't put her contract in. I was
Adair
like,
did that
"Oh,
last year for a show, and she literally turned it in like 5 minutes late, and they didn't accept it. I was happy they didn't accept it, because that was it was last season where they were sending out all the things, and they're like, we're not letting athletes pop into shows. We're not going to and they didn't. They did not let her. So I was mad at Adair. I was like, girl, you got this. Like, what do you mean? And then, but I was happy that the IFBB office stuck to their guns.
If you got to stand up for what you put out there, or else everybody's like,
Yeah.
well, you let her do it. Well, you let her do it. I have to do that all the time too. It's like I have a human side to me who wants to be like, okay, we can make an exception. But if I make an exception for you, then we got to make an exception for everybody else. So, hey, it is what it is. So you.
And I like to have my contract in like as soon as I feel like I'm doing the show. But Jamie and Drew was like, don't sign it. You don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen. I'm like, but it's not done. But that's
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Once I made a decision, I want to make it final. Like let's go. But yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. You just don't know. And then you're not stuck with it if you decide that you can't do it for whatever reason, or whatever. Right. Like, but yeah, I'm like, you're right. I'm like, I always have this like nightmare in the back of my head that I'm gonna forget to turn my contract in. I'm like,
Me too. Same. I'm like calling the Olympia. I'm like, hey, I'm competing this year. Can you get my contract to me so I don't forget it?
Oh my God. Yeah. Right. Oh my God. No. It's like, and this just shows how type A we are. Like, we have nightmares about turning in contracts.
Literally. I would be lying if I didn't wake up once over the weekend. I was like, did I sign the contract?
I know.
Dude, just relax. It's not Monday yet.
That also, I have anxiety also about like booking the hotels. Like, did I book a hotel room? Did I not? Like, I did that with the Pittsburgh. I was like, did I book my room yet? Because they always sell out.
Always.
And I'm like, did I
well, and we're in Pittsburgh like 3 or 4 times a year. So it's like, did I book for that show, or was it another one? I literally have a travel spreadsheet. I look at the spreadsheet literally every night, and I'm like,
yes,
is my month booked? Where am I going? Like, it's a lot. It's a lot.
And for some of these shows, like for like Masters and like North Americans, sometimes I have like 2 reservations at different hotels based on like what's going to happen. And I'm like, and I forget. I'm like, did I cancel that one? I did that at the Arnold. So this was actually like, I did cancel it, but they screwed it up. So I was like, this, you got an email about that too, I think. I had 2 reservations and I canceled the one, but then they went through and they were whatever, they messed stuff up. But I'm looking at it, I'm like, I know I canceled that. Like, I know I canceled that reservation. I'm like, they're not going to charge me for that. I canceled it. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's a lot to manage and keep track of. I feel like I have multiple spreadsheets on the same thing just to make sure I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's.
That's what I'm like, if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. Like,
oh no, it doesn't exist.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Nope. Yeah. Same.
All right. Well, at least we're psycho together. I know, right? Yeah. At least we're psycho, like over analyzing together. It works.
Same human, same brain.
That's right. That's why we're successful at what we do.
Exactly.
Period. Exactly. So and on that note, let's go ahead and wrap it up for today, guys. Thank you so much for all the suggestions too. We have a ton of topic suggestions, so keep them coming because they can be very timely, you know what I mean? So all right, we are at episode 85. So like, comment, subscribe, share, all the fun things that we always talk about, and buttons, all the buttons everywhere.
Ding.
And with that, for Behind the Bikini, we are out. Perfect.